Did you know that 87% of explosive related deaths in 7 Days to Die are avoidable? If only those poor souls knew what explosives they should have been using, how to acquire those explosives, and how to use them on the enemy rather than themselves, most of them would be alive today. Luckily for you, dear survivor, I know all about 7 Days to Die's explosives and how to use them, and I can teach you all I know about them for a very agreeable price. What's the price? Just be sure to like the video if you learn what you needed to know. Oh, and before we begin, all the damage values in today's videos are in reference to Nomad difficulty. If you didn't know, Nomad difficulty gives no bonuses or penalties to the player, meaning there's no extra damage or damage penalties. So for example, if you're playing on Scavenger, you'll be doing 50% more damage than I say in today's video, and if you're playing on Insane, you'll be doing 50% less damage than I say in today's video. I'm sure you can fill in the gaps from there. Oh, and another thing, explosive damage is armor penetrating, at least against zombies. A few zombie types are actually armoured. Armour, of course, makes them take reduced damage. However, explosive damage is different. As a result, explosive damage ignores the zombie armour. However, it will not pass through player armour, as player armour comes with explosive resistance built into its stats. With that little disclaimer out the way, let's start blowing some stuff up, shall we? I've divided all the explosives in 7 Days to Die into 4 categories. First of these is the most forgotten form of explosives: landmines. For those of you who just fell off the stupid bus, a landmine is a bomb that explodes when you stand on it. They can also be triggered by shooting it either with a gun or a bow, or even by other explosives. In your travels, you can find wild landmines in their natural habitats, usually in improvised defences or around military installations. If anything stands on a landmine, it will explode. It doesn't matter if it's your landmine, your friend's landmine, a wild landmine, or an enemy player's landmine. If something stands on a landmine, it will explode. There are 2 exceptions to this, however. Players with Urban Combat Volume 5 can freely walk over landmines without setting them off. Players with the Infiltrator perk can delay the explosion of landmines by up to 2 seconds, and can even pick them up to be used later. There are 5 landmines available to the player. The first one is the Candy Tin Mine. This mine has a 2-block explosion radius, dealing 276 damage to something at the centre of that radius. Explosive damage tapers off the further away from the centre of the explosion it is. The Candy Tin Mine requires no workbench or schematic to unlock, and to craft one you'll need 4 iron, 4 gunpowder, a nail, and 1 duct tape, which is very cheap. The next mine available after that is the Cooking Pot Mine. Unlocked at Demolitions Expert rank 1, this mine will deal 300 damage in a 2-block radius. To craft one, you'll need 1 forged iron, 5 gunpowder, 1 nail, and you'll also need access to a workbench. Unlocked at Demolitions Expert rank 2, we have the Hubcap Mine. This mine deals a very respectable 450 damage in a 3-block radius. It requires 1 forged iron, 8 gunpowder, 1 nail, and 1 duct tape to craft at a workbench. The next landmine is the Air Filter Landmine, unlocked at Demolitions Expert rank 5. This landmine is the most devastating landmine available to the player, dealing 690 damage in a 4-block radius. To craft one, you'll need 1 forged iron, 8 gunpowder, 1 spring, and 1 duct tape, again at a workbench. Finally, we actually have a unique landmine, the Pressure Plate Mine. Unlike the other mines which detonate with pressure, gunfire, or arrows, this mine will only explode if something stands on it. Overall though, landmines are not a fantastic weapon to use in 7 Days to Die, and that's why I'm getting them out of the way quickly. You're much better saving your gunpowder for more versatile forms of explosives, which I'll be covering in a moment. I should also mention that you can safely go over landmines in a vehicle, as it will absorb most of the blast damage. If you use landmines at all, I'd recommend the Candy Tin Mines, as their low cost allows you to really cover areas with them. Anything else seems like a waste of gunpowder and forged iron to me. So let's cover those much more versatile forms of explosives I mentioned. The second category we have is anti-personnel thrown explosives, or as we know them better, grenades. Let's cover the basics of grenades first. The grenades have low block damage, meaning you can safely throw them around your horde base without destroying it, with only minor repairs needed at the end of Fortnite. To start, you're going to want to select a grenade on your hotbar. Next, you'll need to prime that grenade by pressing right click. To throw the grenade, you'll want to hold the left click until this bar fills up. The fuller the bar, the further the grenade will go. When the bar is at a level you like, let go of the left click and it will throw the grenade. I'd highly recommend aiming at the thing you're trying to kill as opposed to a door frame or your own feet. You can throw a grenade without priming it. Whether you did this deliberately or not, there are a few things you can do with a dropped unprimed grenade. The first and most likely thing is you can pick it back up safely, except the Molotov. More on them later. Alternatively, maybe you're trying to make some kind of trap. You can drop some more grenades and then you want to prime some other kind of grenade and drop it in the pile. This would cause a large explosion, multiplying the explosive power of the grenades. Once again, don't do this at your feet. It's a good idea to try it in a pit you've lured zombies into, for example. But what grenades are there? Well, our first one isn't really a grenade, but I have nowhere else to really put it. Let's start with the Molotov cocktail. The Molotov cocktail requires no perks, schematics, or workstations, and are craftable for 1 cloth, 300 gas, 1 oil, and 1 empty jar. On Nomad difficulty, the Molotov will do 250 burning damage over 16 seconds. That burn time can be extended 10% longer and thus do 10% more damage with the Fireman's Almanac Volume 4. There are a few vital things to know about Molotov cocktails though. First of all, Molotovs have no prime, so you don't have to right click, just select it and throw it. Molotovs are not affected by the Demolitions Expert perk, so the only way to improve the damage is to use that Fireman's Almanac book. The Molotovs can be used to cause friendly fire even when PvP is disabled. If you set yourself on fire with a Molotov, you can stop the burning and negate all damage by drinking or going into the water. The next explosive weapon is the pipe bomb. The pipe bomb is unlocked by Demolitions Expert rank 1 or by finding a pipe bomb schematic. To craft a pipe bomb, you'll need a workbench with 1 plant fiber, 12 gunpowder, and 1 short iron pipe. These are extremely cheap. Pipe bombs will do 230 damage at the centre of their 4-block explosion radius. Priming a pipe bomb with the right click will activate a 4-second fuse. After that 4-second fuse is over, the bomb will detonate regardless of whether or not it has left your hand. Be careful not to blow yourself up with this one. The pipe bomb is arguably the best explosive weapon because of its good cost to damage ratio, requiring small amounts of very primitive resources and dealing very respectable damage. If you are insistent on dealing more damage though, we still have some more options to cover. The next grenade is the actual grenade. Available with its schematic or Demolitions Expert at rank 3, the grenade costs 1 mechanical part, 14 gunpowder, 4 forged iron, and 1 spring. The grenade is a very pricey weapon, but it does deal 310 damage at the centre of its 5-block radius. While the grenade is safer to use than the pipe bomb, it's also less versatile. The grenade will never explode in your hand, but that does mean that there is a full 3-second fuse that is completely unavoidable. This delay makes it very difficult to correctly time your grenade throws. The pipe bomb or later the contact grenades are far easier to work with in my opinion. I would give a hard pass to these grenades because they are harder to use than pipe bombs, and they are also vastly more expensive than the pipe bombs, as they require mechanical parts and springs, 2 non-craftable items. The grenade also needs forged iron, which may be better used elsewhere. I'd advise sticking with pipe bombs, but if you're not getting enough DPS from those, we do have one more option: the contact grenade. The contact grenade is craftable for 2 mechanical parts, 14 gunpowder, 4 forged iron, and 1 spring. Do note that that is the same as the regular grenade, but with 1 extra mechanical part. The contact grenade is also the same damage-wise as the regular grenade, dealing 310 damage with a 5-block radius. The unique part of the contact grenade is that it has no fuse. You pull the pin, you throw it, and it detonates when it hits its target. The contact grenade is far more user-friendly than the regular frag grenade, as it doesn't suffer from long unavoidable fuse time. The contact grenade's major drawback though is that you need Demolitions Expert rank 5 or its schematic to unlock them. With all that said, my recommendation when it comes to grenades in general is simple. First of all, Molotovs are highly effective in the early game, but because they lack any damage perk, it means they really fall off later in the game. I also wouldn't recommend crafting them ever because the game practically throws them at you, and gasoline is far better used elsewhere. Vehicles, generators, or a much better explosive I'll explain later. Pipe bombs are fantastic in the early game all the way through to the late game. They are extremely cost effective, requiring very easily accessible ingredients. As a reminder, they cost 1 plant fiber, 12 gunpowder, and 1 iron pipe. Oh, and I would also just like to remind everyone that you can craft gunpowder without a chemistry station. It's just at half the speed and for twice the resources. I only mention that because I constantly forget that I can do it. Where pipe bombs do fail though is on those harder difficulty modes and faster zombie speeds. On Survivalist and Insane, pipe bombs will be outclassed by contact grenades once radiated zombies with large health pools and fast running speeds come into play. Regular frag grenades in my opinion are worthless. If you're investing valuable, non-craftable resources like mechanical parts and springs into grenades, you should take the slightly higher cost of the contact grenades to ensure your resources are used to maximum effect. If you want to maximize the potential of your explosives, you should invest in the Demolitions Expert perk. The Demolitions Expert skill has 5 ranks requiring 1, 3, 5, 7 and 10 points of perception respectively. I don't want to be here for half an hour, so I'll summarise the perk. Each rank will increase the explosive damage of all explosive weapons, and it will also speed up the aiming and reloading speed of the rocket launcher. The final level will give you 50% more explosive damage with all explosives, and 35% faster reload and 50% faster aiming speed with the rocket launcher. I'll be explaining more about the rocket launcher later in this video, so be sure to stick around for that. Rank 2 will give you a 100% chance to stun enemies with explosives, and level 5 will make that stun last longer. Rank 3 will allow you to craft more efficient stacks of gunpowder, with each stack costing 800 coal and nitrate, but giving 1000 gunpowder. That is a 20% discount. Do note that this only works at the chemistry station, efficient stacks are not craftable in your inventory. And finally, each rank will unlock more explosives to craft, but I'll be covering that throughout the video. The Demolitions Expert perk is a fantastic addition to anyone's build, and is almost necessary if you want to use explosives efficiently. Anyway, at the beginning of this video I said there'd be 4 categories, and so far I've only covered 2. Let's move on to the third kind of explosives, anti-structural explosives. There are 2 dedicated anti-structural explosives, dynamite and time charges. Dynamite does 500 damage to zombies and 3000 damage to blocks at the centre of its 6 block explosion radius with a 4-second fuse. It's cheap, requiring 1 plant fibre, 20 gunpowder, 2 duct tape and 10 pieces of paper, and it unlocks with its schematic or the Demolitions Expert perk at rank 2. Dynamite can be used to kill zombies in a pinch, having more explosive damage than any of the dedicated anti-personnel explosives. However, I would never actually recommend doing this, especially near your horde base, because it is so devastating to blocks. Dynamite is for destroying buildings, enemy player bases, or blasting out underground mines. It works similarly to a pipe bomb with an active fuse as soon as you prime it, so be sure to throw it before it blows you and the building you're standing in to pieces. Time charges are unlocked with Demolitions Expert rank 5 of the Great Heist Skill Book Volume 3. The time charge shows 3000 structural damage with a 1 block radius, but this is not accurate. According to the game files, we can see that the actual radius of the explosion is 0.65 blocks, which the inventory screen displays as 1. We can also see that the time charge does not do 3000 damage to blocks. So what's going on here? Well, on the basic level, the inventory screen is just lying. The XML tells the game to display a value of 3000, which is a value one of the developers seems to have found by gently inserting their finger into their anal cavity and pulling out the first thing they found. On the same line, we can see that the actual block damage of the time charge is 110. According to the game code, a damage bonus of 38 applies to doors and safes. I can only assume that that multiplies 110 by 38, which would be 4180. Unfortunately, that's not the damage value of the time charge. What's going on here? To be honest, I don't really know. However, I can tell you my findings from some good old-fashioned scientific testing. Explosive damage against safes and doors appears to be anywhere between 3000 and 4800. I can only assume then that the value the inventory displays is intended to be the minimum damage of the time charge against its intended targets. Those intended targets being locked safes and doors. But regular blocks are practically undamaged by the charge. You can throw the charge by left clicking. The charge will stick to a target and count to 5 and then explode. The damage is highly directional and it will only really damage the block it is directly stuck to. One time charge cannot destroy a vault door or gun safe. However, charges can one-shot these blocks if you have the Demolitions Expert perk at various levels. Time charges also seem to have a bonus against locked chests. And that's all of the anti-structural thrown explosives. There's one more category of explosives to come. Explosive ammo. First kind of explosive ammo is of course exploding arrows. Exploding arrows are fired from bows, detonating on impact for 180 explosive damage in a 4-block radius. To craft these, you'll need 1 steel arrowhead, 2 scrap polymers, 6 gunpowder, and 1 duct tape. But to unlock the schematic, you'll need to have the Ranger's Guide to Archery Volume 2 book. Naturally, there are also exploding crossbow bolts. These do more damage at the cost of having a slower fire rate on the crossbow. The bolts do 250 damage instead of 180, and as a result, the crafting cost of the bolts is slightly higher, requiring 1 steel arrowhead, 2 scrap polymers, 1 duct tape, and 8 gunpowder instead of 6. These also need the Ranger's Guide to Archery Volume 2 book to be craftable. Before I get onto the last two ammo types, I should probably introduce the weapon that fires them, the rocket launcher. The rocket launcher is a late game weapon that's craftable at a workbench if you have its schematic. No perk will unlock this weapon. The cost of the rocket launcher, like other weapons, will vary based on the quality level you're trying to craft. Your Demolitions expert rank will determine that quality level. At rank 4, you'll be able to craft a level 5 rocket launcher. Level 6 gear can only be looted or purchased. As a ranged weapon, the rocket launcher does have access to mods, specifically these ones. The Demolitions Expert perk increases the rocket launcher's damage, aim and reload speed. The rocket launcher can use two ammo types, the rocket HEs and the rocket frags. Let's start with the rocket HEs. Rocket HEs are like a weak version of dynamite, except you fire it with a rocket. It deals 400 entity damage on top of the rocket's own impact damage, and deals 2500 block damage with a 5 block radius. These are ideal for property damage, but not the most practical for Horde Knights. These are craftable with the Demolitions Expert perk at rank 4 or just with the rocket launcher schematic. To craft a rocket HE round, you'll need 1 rocket tip, 15 gunpowder, 2 duct tape, 500 gasoline and 1 rocket casing. Rocket casings and tips are craftable at a forge, by the way. Rocket frags are different from rocket HEs in that they are intended for anti-personnel use. Frags deals 700 damage to zombies but only 20 to blocks. This makes them perfect for Horde Knights. I use rocket frags to deal with radiated cops in demos whenever I see them spawn in. I send a couple of rockets at them and continue melting regular zombies with contact grenades or pipe bombs along with whatever gun I'm using. The rocket frags are an expensive ammo type though, costing 25 buckshot, 15 gunpowder, 2 duct tape, 500 gas and 1 rocket casing. But if you're into the demolition zombie stage of the game, the rocket frags are definitely a worthwhile investment. And that's it. Explosives for dummies. Every kind of explosive explained with my tips on using them correctly, as well as which ones to just generally avoid. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. If you got a lot out of this guide, why not check out my beginner's guide to electricity, or whatever YouTube recommends. As always, thanks to my channel members, Violet Plague, Elodie, Many Talented Mr. Jefferson, Evisarena, Grassy Gaming, VR Stuz, Cool Anime Girls, and Devin Hebert. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.